I have something really exciting to share with you today, and it came from the Secretary of State here in Nashville, Tennessee. The Secretary of State's name is Trey Hargett, and this document was handed out. It was a 2019. Last year, today is January 2020, and it comes from the Tennessee State Library and Archives. And to family members that are watching, you'll want to watch till the end because we'll be talking about the Reedies and the Liveleys. The Reedies, of course, on my father's side, the Liveleys on my mother's side, but coming out of the Tennessee State Library and Archives. In this folder, and I'm going to share with you the documents on the screen, talking about genealogy, the library, the archives, the online resources for Tennessee, stuff that you can find in the electronic library. And it's this document here, and the bullet points: the academics, high school, business, health, public, elementary, middle school, careers and professional development, Gale ebooks on GVRL, and essential tools for users, get more out of Gale resources, and a great tool for students, teachers, parents, and your activities. Another document that was given to us, Tennessee State Library and Archives. It gives the information about us in the different tabs that you can look through: collection highlights, education, outreach, history, and genealogy. Like I said, I'm going to cover the Reedy family tree as well as the Lively family tree, programs and services, library, even for the blind, library for the blind. And Tennessee State Library Archives, supporting the library that anchors our communities. And I am a big supporter of the library and archives in Houston County, the county that I currently live in. So getting to the documents, and the Secretary of State shared this information. Alorn Hamrick says compiled this, but giving us, the state representatives and the state senators, an idea what we could share with you so you can come and visit the library and the archives to find out maybe a little bit of your past. So this first cover letter says, the Representative J.D. Reedy, Genealogy and Historical Documents for the Reedy Family, compiled by Alorn Hamrick. Collectively, this annotated selection of documents assembled from the many historical resources and databases made available to the public by the Tennessee State Library and Archives illustrate the importance of family records in telling the history of our state. Each citizen and their ancestors play an important role in our shared heritage, leaving behind evidence of their lives for future researchers. This preliminary genealogy of your family history is based on documents found within the collection at the Tennessee State Library and Archives, and with the help of our subscriptions to genealogy databases that include resources outside the state of Tennessee. A more detailed inventory of items available in our collection, including a family chart detailing each document and links to your family, is also included in this packet. We hope you find the material useful in learning more about your family's history. The next document is the J. Dean Reedy family chart, and it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 generations from me to my father, whose name was Tommy Dean Reedy, whose father was Bert Reedy, and his mother's name was Beulah Clark. She was a Reedy after marriage, but I remember Grandpa Bishop, who she married later, and I really do not remember Bert Reedy. So Grandpa Bert's father was also named Bert, and his mother, and this would have been my grandfather, would have been my great-grandmother, is Sarah Ellen Willie. And Bert Sr.'s father's name was George Washington Reedy. So that's interesting. During the Civil War time, his wife, Nancy J., and that's all that's there, she was, both George W. Reedy and Nancy were both born in Indiana. Okay. Then Sarah Ellen Willie, father was John W. Willie, and mother is Margaret. And then they were able to trace that back even further on the Willie side to John Willie and Martha A. Let's see. Then there's the information as far as the Clarks for Grandma Reedy. But that was the Clarks going back to Iowa. Let's see. So anyway, interesting going from there. Then on my mother's side, Cindy Lively, her father's name was Charles Everett Lively, and Mary Emma Wheeler. Now, of course, if you've been to my office here in Nashville, I will share a picture with you. I've got Grandpa Charles Everett Lively's old chair that I remember as a toddler sitting in the chair with Grandpa. Grandpa Lively was really not a big man, but his father's name was Charles Porter Lively, and Grandpa Lively's mother's name was Nancy Lucinda Duncan. My mother's name, so my great-grandmother on that side was Nancy Lucinda Duncans, and they go back a few more generations to a grandfather, great-grandfather, great-great-grandfather, great-great-great-grandfather, and it looks like 4 greats back, a John Porter Lively. And then on Grandma Wheeler's side of the family, Mary Emma Wheeler was my grandmother, or my mother, so it was my grandmother, of course, who was married to Charles Everett Lively. Her father was George Wheeler and Mary Elizabeth Heinz. And let's see, looking at that grandmother, Mary Elizabeth Heinz, was born in Saxony, Germany. And both of her parents, showing 1853 in Germany. Not much more detail other than they just came from Germany, but not exactly where. All right, let's get into some of these other documents. So there's this document front and back showing where they got the information for the family tree to verify that those are family members, and the documents coming out of that. Here's another page showing the same thing. The next page is going to the Lively side of the family. Charles, let me separate these documents. This one is Charles Everett Lively, maternal grandfather. Charles Everett Lively, United States, Charles Everett Lively, United States, World War I draft registration card from 1917 to 1918. The database with images on a microfiche publication from Washington, D.C., National Archives and Records Administration. Charles Everett Lively, World War II draft card. 4th registration for the state of Nebraska record group title Records of the Selective Service to 1926 to 1975. Let's go ahead and look at some of those documents. United States World War I, so that's the first one there. World War II. Charles Everett Lively, registration card, men born on or after April 28, 1877, and on or before February 16th, 1897. At that time, let's see, I'm looking for a date on this document. I'm not seeing it. The thing that I do see is the date of birth on this registration card, December 2nd, 1896, age in years 46, Florissant, Colorado, place of birth, telephone none, name and address, a person who will always know your address, Mary Emma Lively, wife, from Ainsworth, employer's name Ernest House in Ainsworth, Nebraska, in Brown County. And the information they wanted on him, he was 5'10.5" tall, 163 pounds, blue eyes, brown hair, and light skin complexion. Other obvious physical characteristics that will aid in identification is a scar on his forehead, and that's interesting. I remember the scar on Grandpa's forehead. The next was Bert Reedy, the paternal grandfather. I won't read all of this, but it was a World War II draft registration card for him, certificate of marriage of Bert Reedy to Beulah Reedy, that took place on March 6, 1957, Clark County, Washington. So that's in Washington State. Let's take a look at those. A lot of this is fine print. 15th Census of the United States, the population schedule, and some of my tracing of the ancestry of the last name Reedy. If you look at the cursive handwriting, you could see R, and the way they make the two E's, it could have been E-I-D-Y, or the Y could end up looking like an I-E. So there was a lot of confusion that it was not printed, but in cursive writing that you could get a variation of Reed, Reedy, R-E-I-D-I-E, or the R-E-I-D-Y. Just pretty amazing, the documents that are collected over the years. Let's see, this is Bert Reedy. He had no middle name, and it says none right here. Bert Nunn Reedy. Order number 397. His wife is Mrs. Beulah Reedy. Relationship wife, Vernon Richardson, Nebraska. Pretty interesting. Grandpa Reedy was 5'10", and he weighed 167 pounds. He had brown eyes, brown hair, and he had a dark brown complexion. And of course, that was always the discussion of the Cherokee Indian that I've been told about as a kid, thinking it was coming from Grandpa Reedy, Bert Reedy on my father's side. We have the certificate of marriage between Grandma and Grandpa Reedy. That's pretty cool. And then on this last document, let's see, Jesse Grant Clark and Delilah LeMiller and a paternal great-grandparents. It says this is a marriage record from Jesse Clark to Delilah LeMiller, 23 November 1898 at Cass County, Iowa. Let's see, they found that in Ancestry.com in Iowa, Marriage Records 1880 to 1940 database online, Lehi, Utah, USA, Ancestry.com operations, incorporation 2014. Iowa Department of Public Health, Iowa Marriage Records 1880 to 1922, Textual Records, State Historical Society of Iowa, Des Moines, Iowa. So there's once again the cursive writing, quite the documents that you can find out there. But certainly check out the State Library, and of course you're going to find the Tennessee State Library and Archives, 403 7th Avenue North, Nashville, Tennessee 37243. You can also get in touch with the Secretary of State, sos.tn.gov/TSLA. So check out your local library. Where the library is located here in Nashville, Tennessee, is right next to you, close around the corner anyway. It's in walking distance of the State Museum. Both relatively new buildings, new construction, all new for this consolidated area. But go check it out. I think you're going to be impressed with the museum, and if you ever need of help at the state library, maybe tracing your family tree, finding out more about your family history, check it out. And if you ever see Secretary of State Tre Hargett, tell him thank you for all the work, great work that he does for the state of Tennessee. Until next time, God bless and have a great day.